Hello friends, today we're going to discuss a topic that I am asked about very frequently, specifically, how much will a divorce cost you? Well, the cost of a divorce varies widely depending on a number of factors, including the complexity of the case, the jurisdiction in which a case is being processed, and the parties' approach at resolving different issues, including child custody, the division of property, alimony, and attorney's fees. Welcome back to the Divorce Broadcast. My name is Manny Segarra, coming to you from Miami, Florida. Here are some of the costs associated with a divorce proceeding, starting with attorney's fees. Yes, attorney's fees can vary in different jurisdictions depending upon the experience of the attorney and his or her staff. Hiring an attorney to represent you in a divorce case can be very expensive, with fees ranging from a few $1,000s to tens of thousands of dollars. So make sure that you check out the attorney's experience as well as their charging rate. The cost of a divorce case also depend upon the issues involved and the complexity of those issues. For example, if it's a short-term marriage and there's no kids and no property, no problem. That is the type of case that shouldn't be as expensive. You can get an uncontested divorce relatively quickly, assuming both sides are cooperating. Let's say there's no kids, there's a house, the couple decides who's going to keep the house, or they sell it. That's it. They write an agreement and it's over. It becomes a little bit more complicated when there's children involved and property. A lot of times issues relating to the children hopefully can be resolved amicably. The parents can get together and figure out a parenting plan, but if they don't, it complicates and elongates the case, so this may make it more expensive. Same thing goes with the property. If there's children and just a marital residence, it's a little bit easier. But if there's a case that involves children and also some assets and liabilities, and in addition to that, a corporate entity, let's say the couple has a business, then that may become more complicated and it may cost more to litigate that type of case. Another aspect that may increase how much your divorce case costs is if you need to hire an expert, and there are different types of experts that may be needed in a divorce case. For instance, a guardian ad litem in a case in which custody is disputed or there's some issues that the parties cannot agree upon for the children. Mental health professionals, if one of the parties has to get a psych eval or therapy or counseling, this could also add to the cost of the case. Financial analyst or forensic accountant, let's say the parties need help determining the amount of the marital estate, if there's an alimony award, what the total net worth of the parties are, they may hire a financial analyst or a forensic accountant to help them. If there's a business valuation may be conducted by another expert. If there's properties, perhaps a real estate appraiser must go out and conduct an appraisal on whatever property the parties have. Also, if there's an alimony claim, there may be the need for a vocational expert. All of these experts add to the cost of a divorce case. They all get paid with retainers, they all get paid and charged hourly, and they all will get paid either by the parties or liquidation of the assets that the parties have. Another cost that must be considered is the cost of mediation. In Florida, mediation is mandatory for divorce cases according to the status quo order. Mediators charge hourly. The rate of the mediator can vary depending upon the experience level and expertise of that mediator, and the parties must divide that fee usually equally, or if not equally, on a pro rata share depending upon who earns more money. And mediation can last 2 hours, 4 hours, an entire day, or it can last several days. In addition to this, the parties must consider that they may have to expend money to pay for temporary living expenses. If one of the spouses no longer lives in the house, it may be necessary for them to get temporary living arrangements like an apartment or a hotel room where they can stay, and this may add to the cost of litigation. Finally, the cost of a divorce also depends on the different stages of where the divorce case eventually goes. If there's a prenup, so the parties signed a prenup before they got married, then it may be easier because the prenup will spell out all the distribution of the assets and liabilities, and perhaps if there's children, the parties will just focus on the children. If the parties don't have a prenup and they can try to either engage in a collaborative process or try to work out the case before they file, that's also cheaper because they don't have to go to court. Once the case case is filed and the parties have to start engaging in discovery and temporary hearings and temporary motions, then obviously the price starts to go up. Add to that mediation, which always follows. I just mentioned before, the cost of mediation can be significant, and if the parties don't resolve the case at mediation, then there's subsequent court hearings, there may be depositions and additional discovery, and then a final hearing. If your case goes to a final hearing, that is probably where you will spend the most amount of money. Final hearings can take a day or a couple days or sometimes a couple weeks, and that could be very expensive. As a recap, the following variables may affect the cost of your divorce proceeding, including the attorney's fees involved, the complexity of the case, whether or not you have to hire an expert witness, the cost of mediation, if you're required to find some sort of temporary housing, and finally, the stages of the case. The sooner and less complex the case is, the easier and less expensive it will probably be to resolve. The more complex the case is and the longer it lingers, it probably will cost you a little bit more and sometimes a lot more if you have to go to a final hearing. It's important to note that the costs of a divorce are difficult to predict because there's so many different variables that can affect the final amount of the bill. So make sure that you're checking your invoices as you get them to see whether or not it may be time for you to consider settling your case. Anyway, for those of you who may need help with your divorce case, you can look us up at www.segarralawfirm.com. We have offices in Miami and Orlando, Florida. Se habla español. Please do us a favor and like this video, share this video with any family and friends that may be considering going through divorce, and subscribe to the divorce broadcast. Thank you.